The lights dimmed inside the massive studio. Cameras moved slowly over the excited crowd. Millions of people around the world were watching live. This wasn't just another debate. It was being called the most important television event of the year. The screen behind the stage showed the title in bold letters: The Future of Speech, Comedy versus Control. No one really knew what to expect. But no one expected what was about to happen. Backstage, Carla Singh stood near the curtain. She was a senior journalist from BBC World News. Dressed in a dark blue blazer, her eyes were sharp, focused. On her lap, she held a brown folder. One word was written in red on the cover: Signal Storm. Inside the folder were secret files, leaked documents, whistleblower reports, and internal emails. They showed something dangerous. Proof that major tech platforms had been secretly controlling which voices were heard and which were silenced. Trends were not always natural. Some were pushed. Others were buried. It was bigger than anyone knew. Carla wasn't here just to watch the debate. She was here to confirm a suspicion. And if what she feared was true, tonight could be the spark that set off a storm. The stage lights flashed. The crowd clapped as the moderator walked in. He smiled as he adjusted his earpiece. Tonight, he said, we witness a clash of two powerful minds. One is a global comedian known for sharp political humor. The other is a tech billionaire who has changed how we communicate online. Please welcome Trevor Noah and Elon Musk. Trevor walked out first, waving to the crowd with his usual charm. He smiled wide, but there was a slight stiffness in his body. He looked confident, but also alert, like someone expecting trouble. Then, the unexpected happened. From the other side of the stage, Elon Musk walked in. Gasps spread through the room. He was not supposed to be there in person. Reports had said he would appear via satellite link. Even the security team backstage looked confused. Carla blinked. That wasn't in the schedule, she whispered. Elon moved with calm purpose. He wore a black suit, no tie. His face was unreadable, the kind of expression that made you wonder what he knew that you didn't. As the two men sat down, tension filled the room. Social media exploded instantly. Live tweets, reaction videos, and hashtags began trending within seconds. One read, Musk vs. Noah. The moderator spoke again. Let's begin with a question that matters to everyone. What does free speech mean in the digital age? And who gets to control it? There was silence. Then, Elon leaned forward. It's not free speech, he said slowly, if it's filtered by political consultants hiding behind jokes. Trevor raised an eyebrow. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. And it's not freedom, Trevor replied, if the richest man on earth decides what people can or can't say. The audience clapped. Some cheered. Others stayed quiet. Carla felt the folder grow heavier in her hands. Her fingers trembled slightly. She knew both of them were only scratching the surface. The real story wasn't about jokes or tweets. It was about power. Hidden, quiet power, used to shape how people think. The folder in her lap had names, dates, data. It showed that several comedians, journalists, and political critics had been secretly suppressed online. Their posts had been removed, their accounts limited, some without ever knowing. Suddenly, Elon pulled out his phone. Shall I show them? He asked, looking across at Trevor. Trevor laughed nervously. What now? Another meme? Elon didn't smile. Not a meme, not a joke. Real emails. Between your production team and political PR groups. The room went silent. Carla's heart stopped. Emails? How did he get that? Backstage security moved closer to the side curtain. The moderator raised a hand. Let's not jump ahead. But Elon interrupted him. Let's be honest. People don't know what's real anymore. He pointed at Trevor. Make fun of people who ask questions, but you're part of the same machine. Trevor stood up. And you're the machine's owner. Carla's phone buzzed. A message flashed from an encrypted contact named 01. He has parts of Signal Storm, but not everything. Be careful. Her eyes widened. So Elon did have some of the files, but not all, and he didn't know what was missing. As the debate heated up, the audience could sense that something deeper was going on. This was no longer about comedy or technology. It was about control, about truth, and about who really pulls the strings. The moderator leaned forward. Gentlemen, let's stay focused. Trevor turned to the crowd. This is bigger than us. It's about who controls the story. Him, me, or someone none of us elected? The crowd murmured. Elon stood up slowly. Then let's show them everything. Live. Now. The screen behind them turned black. Backstage, Carla whispered. It's starting. And somewhere deep in a government building, a red light on a control panel began to blink. The broadcast returned from the break, but something felt different. The studio was quiet. Too quiet. Trevor, Noah, and Elon Musk now stood a few feet apart on the stage, each under their own spotlight. The audience watched closely. Even those who had been clapping or cheering before now held their breath. Something real was happening. Not scripted. Not rehearsed. Backstage, Carla Singh's fingers hovered over her phone. The message from 01 stayed on the screen. He has parts of Signal Storm, but not everything. Be careful. Her mind raced. How did Elon get those internal emails? And, if he had them, who else did? On stage, the moderator tried to bring order. Let's move to the next question. But Elon interrupted, holding his phone up again. No, let's stay with this. He turned toward the big screen behind them. Play the file. There was confusion among the producers. A man in a headset rushed to the director. Did we approve this? Too late. The screen flickered, then turned white. A long thread of emails appeared. Subject lines like segment adjustment after briefing, guest list filtered, priority approved by committee, algorithmic priority suggestion for midterms. Then one line in bold, avoid Elon mention, too disruptive, focus on humor, not substance. Gasps filled the room. Trevor's face tensed. This is out of context, he said, stepping forward. You're cherry-picking backstage production notes. Elon didn't flinch. You call it comedy. I call it coordination. Trevor looked at the crowd. So what, Elon? You don't like jokes about billionaires? Cry harder. But this time, fewer people laughed. Carla's phone buzzed again. Another message. This time from an unknown number. Don't let him reveal the Ukraine file. It will trigger escalation. Her stomach dropped. The Ukraine file was the most sensitive part of Signal Storm. It contained records of a coordinated blackout of certain war footage, accounts suspended after criticizing Western decisions, and private communication between officials and social media moderators. If Elon found it and made it public, it could shake international alliances. She rose quietly and moved toward the hallway. If this went any further, someone would try to shut it down. Hard. Back inside, the moderator finally regained control. Let's pause, he said firmly. Mr. Musk, these are serious accusations, but we haven't verified. You can verify them right now, Elon said. I just uploaded the data to the public server. Trevor stepped forward, alarmed. You did what? People deserve the truth, Elon replied, not filtered by punchlines or ad revenue. Within minutes, tech analysts, journalists, and activists across the world had downloaded the files. Headlines began flooding in. Musk leaks backstage. Emails. Media coordination with politicians exposed. Signal storm trends worldwide. Leaked data points to shadow bans. Topic filtering. Is this the death of trust in media? In a secured building in London, a GCHQ analyst picked up the phone. We have a breach. Level 3. Should we activate clean room? In Washington, a State Department advisor typed a message on a secure device. If Ukraine file hits servers, prep for diplomatic fallout. Delay it. Meanwhile, Carla ducked into a back hallway. She needed a place to think. Quietly, she opened her folder and looked at the pages. She'd seen the part Elon released, but he hadn't touched the parts about foreign surveillance, the private influencers list, the media personalities quietly paid to promote or avoid certain topics. He didn't know everything. Yet. Carla's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. A deep voice spoke, calm and low. If you're near the stage, leave. You're about to see the start of something dangerous. Click. The call ended. She stared at her phone. Her breath quickened. Back on stage, Elon was no longer smiling. He looked serious. Heavy. Let me be clear, he said. This isn't just about Trevor or comedy. It's about power. Hidden power. That shapes what you see, what you think, and what you believe. Trevor replied sharply. And you want to be the one to control it now? No, Elon said. I want it exposed. For a moment, the two men stood still. The crowd didn't move. Neither did the cameras. Then, somewhere backstage, the power flickered. The screens went black. The feed cut off. All across the world, live streams froze. Social media platforms began experiencing sudden technical difficulties. News anchors scrambled on air. A major broadcaster in Europe lost satellite transmission. Carla ran toward the security exit. She knew this wasn't an accident. Someone, somewhere, had pulled the plug. And that meant only one thing. Someone was scared. Emergency lights lit up the studio. Red exit signs flickered across the walls. On the darkened stage, Elon Musk and Trevor Noah were frozen in place, both partly hidden in the shadows. Their microphones had gone silent. The live feed was dead. Backstage, Carla Singh ducked behind a metal equipment rack, her pulse racing. Her phone had lost signal. No Wi-Fi, no bars. Someone had jammed the network. She pulled out a small flash drive from her jacket. The full Signal Storm archive. She had meant to release it through an encrypted drop later that week. But now, things were moving too fast. Elon's leak had triggered something. She could feel it. Across the hall, two men in dark uniforms rushed past. They didn't look like studio staff. No logos, no credentials. They wore earpieces and moved with purpose. Carla stayed low. She had seen this before, in conflict zones and leak investigations. These weren't security guards. They were fixers. On stage, Elon stepped off the platform and spoke quietly to his assistant, who was already typing furiously on a backup tablet. Trevor, meanwhile, moved to the moderator, who looked pale. His voice trembled. This wasn't supposed to go like this, the moderator said. There were rules, agreements. Trevor snapped. There are no rules when billionaires come, armed with classified files and turn a debate into a battlefield. Elon turned, overhearing him. You wanted a fight, Trevor. You brought jokes. I brought receipts. Outside, satellite news trucks began losing connection. Signal towers near the venue experienced blackouts. Journalists were pulled away from the venue under vague security protocols. A few blocks away, in a parked SUV with tinted windows, a phone call connected. He's dumped Phase 1, said a cold voice on the other end. Get her before Phase 2 leaks. You mean the journalist? Asked the agent behind the wheel. Yes. Singh has the full archive, and she's not protected anymore. Inside the building, Carla crept through a narrow hallway. Her instinct said, "Get out now," but her training told her otherwise. There was a backup broadcast room in the basement, old satellite systems used for emergency relays. If she could reach it, she could bypass the blackout. She pushed open a service door and started down the stairs. Above her, Elon's assistant whispered something in his ear. Elon nodded, then looked at the dark crowd. He raised his voice slightly. "They cut the feed. Ask yourself why." Trevor stepped toward him. "Maybe because you're playing God with half-truths." "That's rich," Elon shot back. "You built a career on truth-telling, until the truth pointed at your friends." Gasps spread again, even without microphones. Some people had started recording on their phones. The blackout hadn't stopped curiosity. It only made things hotter. Back in the stairwell, Carla reached the basement door and knocked 3 times. Paused, then twice more. A few seconds later, a pale, jittery technician opened it. "Carla," he whispered, "you're not supposed to be down here." "Neither are they," she said, pushing inside. "Get me a line out." He hesitated. "They ordered a total signal shutdown. Everything's dark." She held up the flash drive. "Not for long." As the technician scrambled to reroute a private uplink, Carla checked her notebook. The most dangerous file wasn't about political hashtags or influencer payments. It was the Ukraine file, and inside it, buried under fake folder names, was a subfile titled Echelon 9, Predictive Trend Warfare. It showed that not only were governments manipulating digital trends, they were simulating public reactions in advance, testing memes, triggering false protests, inflaming divisions, like rehearsing chaos. If Elon found this next, chaos wouldn't be rehearsed. It would be real. Just as the technician finished patching into a low-orbit satellite, a loud sound echoed above. Boots, doors slamming, voices shouting. "They're here," he whispered. Carla uploaded the first set of files to a ghost website prepped weeks ago by 01. She encrypted it with a time delay release. Even if they caught her now, the data would publish in 12 hours, unless they found the server. A sharp knock hit the basement door. "Open, now." The technician froze. Carla backed away slowly, her heart racing. The knock came again, then a voice, low, calm, and terrifying. "We don't want the girl. We want the drive." She pulled a second USB from her pocket, a decoy with blank files, and tossed it under the table. The technician moved to open the door, shaking. When it swung open, a tall man in a gray coat stepped inside. His eyes scanned the room fast. Carla stood still. "Take it," she said, pointing to the decoy. He grabbed it, nodded once, and left. She didn't move until the door clicked shut. The technician exhaled loudly. "You just bluffed the devil." "No," she said. "I distracted him." Because upstairs, Elon Musk was still on the stage, and he had just begun talking about something called Echelon 9. The room was tense again. The cameras were still down. The official live stream hadn't returned. But Elon Musk stood under the bright stage lights, speaking slowly, directly, knowing that phones were recording, and clips would go viral before the hour was over. "Echelon 9, Elon repeated, eyes locked on Trevor Noah. "You've heard of it, haven't you?" Trevor's face didn't move, but his eyes twitched, just enough for Elon to notice. "You speak about free speech," Elon continued. "About the power of words. But what if I told you your words were rehearsed, predicted, measured, before you ever said them?" Murmurs spread across the room. Some people were live tweeting again. A few journalists had broken through the blackout using VPNs and satellite uplinks. The outside world was beginning to watch again. Backstage, Carla Singh stared at the technician's backup monitor as a live feed blinked back online. Elon's blowing it wide open, the technician said quietly. Carla didn't respond. She was staring at her screen, watching as fragments of the signal storm leak began surfacing across darknet mirrors and whistleblower forums. It was happening. The data was escaping. Elon reached into his inner coat pocket and pulled out a slim, black hard drive. "This," he said, holding it up, "contains simulation models from Echelon 9. They predict online outrage based on keyword triggers. They simulate wars, media wars, by testing memes, hashtags, even jokes." He looked at Trevor. "You've been part of those tests, whether you know it or not." Trevor stepped forward slowly. "So what are you saying? That I'm a puppet?" "I'm saying we all are," Elon replied, "unless we burn the strings." There was silence. Then Trevor broke it. "You're not a savior, Elon. You're just another rich man who wants to play hero after breaking the system." "I didn't break it," Elon said. "I just stopped pretending it wasn't broken." In the control room above the studio, a different kind of storm was brewing. Several men in suits were talking into headsets. One pointed at the screen. "He's naming projects, sensitive ones. Contingency protocols are in motion." "Is the package secure?" Another asked. "Yes, but Singh is still active." "Find her. Fast." Meanwhile, Carla's phone buzzed again. A single message from 01. "Satellite mirroring complete. Data will release globally in 10 hours. Assume you're compromised." She locked her phone. "Time to go," she told the technician. He hesitated. "They'll look for you." "They already are," she replied, pulling her hood up. She slipped, out through the back stairwell, avoiding the main exits. She knew too much now, and with the world watching, she had to stay alive long enough to explain what it all meant. Back on stage, Elon turned to the audience. "You deserve to know who decides what you think. Not just governments, not just comedians or CEOs, but the people behind the scenes. The data brokers, the psychological engineers, the invisible trend makers." Trevor crossed his arms. "You're using fear, Elon. You think dumping all this chaos makes you noble? You're destabilizing trust." "No," Elon said. "I'm making trust visible." Outside the venue, protesters had gathered, some supporting Trevor, others cheering Elon. Police drones hovered above, watching. The atmosphere was thick, electric, like a fuse waiting for a spark. In Washington, the same dark-suited man who earlier made the containment call was now standing before a wall of screens. A digital map showed trends erupting in real time. Echelon, your signal storm leak. No more filters. He picked up a secure phone. "We underestimated him. Musk's gone full trigger, and Singh is out." "Next step?" The voice on the other end asked, "Activate blackout cells. Take down the leaks. If she surfaces again, terminate exposure." At the same time, Carla reached a quiet cafe on the outskirts of the city. She slid into a booth, ordered nothing, and waited. A few moments later, a man with a gray scarf sat across from her. "You still have part of it?" he asked. Carla nodded. "But I need help going public. Full spectrum. UN, EU, international. Tribunals. If we don't act now—" "I know," he said, cutting her off. 01 has begun global dissemination. But you're the face now, Carla. You're the only one who can explain this without it becoming another weapon. Back on stage, Trevor finally looked out at the audience, not to crack a joke, not to defend his honor, but to say something rare. "Maybe," he said quietly, "we were all part of the show." And in that moment, the lights flickered again. This time not from sabotage, but from the overwhelming force of digital reaction. Millions were now watching, Debal. In a quiet office within the European Commission building in Brussels, a red alert pulsed on the internal network. The subject line read, "Signal storm confirmed. Verify and contain." Screens blinked to life. Encryption keys were rushed. But it was already too late. Within an hour of Musk's live disclosure and Carla Singh's quiet escape from the broadcast studio, fragments of the signal storm leak began flooding encrypted journalism networks, academic forums, and even foreign state-run media. It was spreading like fire on dry grass. Inside her temporary safe house, an anonymous short-term rental off a side street in Geneva, Carla set her laptop on the table and opened the full archive. Every document she had spent 6 months collecting. Every conversation she had risked her life to record. She pressed upload. 10%, 20, 42. A message flashed on her screen. Tor mirror detected. Infiltration attempt. She killed the connection. Someone was trying to intercept the upload. Meanwhile, in New York, a special news bulletin interrupted primetime coverage. The host, visibly shaken but composed, read aloud. New documents suggest that multiple social platforms, under pressure from private defense contractors, engaged in long-term manipulation of trending content. Going back as far as 2017. The leaks include internal Slack messages, confidential AI modeling blueprints, and government emails. Back on social media, hashtags had shifted again. Shadow control, Shaka comedy as cover, Elon leaks. Where is Carla Trevor? Noah, now in a car on his way out of the broadcast studio, stared at his phone in silence. His manager was speaking, panicking about press damage, legacy, brand value. Trevor wasn't listening. He kept replaying Elon's words. You've been part of those tests, whether you know it or not. A quiet dread settled in. What if he had been? What if the jokes he thought he was writing had already been shaped, guided by something invisible, by data patterns, pressure campaigns, and fear of cancellation? His phone buzzed again. A message. No name, no ID, just text. Search your internal notes folder. File. Brief. April 17.docx. He opened it. It was a draft segment from months ago. His team had flagged certain political topics as too volatile to joke about, based on audience sentiment metrics. But now that he was looking at it, the metadata showed something more disturbing. The note hadn't been written by anyone on his team. It had come from an outside IP, a shadow contributor. Meanwhile, Elon Musk stood alone in a secure bunker, underneath one of SpaceX's private facilities in Texas. A group of advisors had warned him not to go further. They begged him to drop the subject. He refused. On a nearby screen, an AI interface pulsed with light. A synthetic voice confirmed. Public awareness level now critical. Narrative destabilization has begun. Show me projections, Elon said. The screen split into 3 timelines. In one, global governments attempted full censorship, plunging into digital authoritarianism. In another, they embraced the leak and triggered global reform, but chaos followed. In the third, there was no government reaction, just information, unfiltered, everywhere. Which one wins? He asked. The AI paused. None. All 3 fail. Humanity survives, but truth becomes a weapon. Elon sighed. Then we better choose how it's used. Half a world away, Carla Singh received another message from 01. Safe house burned. Geneva compromised. Redirect to Zurich. Asset. Trevor may be turning. Carla didn't hesitate. She packed what she could, left behind everything else. The full archive was now fragmented in 6 locations, each encrypted. But she needed one thing more. Validation. A face. A voice. A witness. Trevor. In Zurich, inside a quiet hotel room lined with blackout curtains and burner phones, Carla and Trevor sat across from each other for the first time. Neither spoke for a long while. Then Carla leaned forward. Have you ever asked yourself, she whispered, why the world laughs louder at some jokes and silences others? Trevor nodded. I used to think it was timing. Or taste. She slid a tablet across the table. It's algorithms. And power. Read through it. Slowly. Quietly. He saw familiar names. Producers, network executives, anonymous collaborators. He saw the label. Narrative Shaping Assets, NSA. Influence Tier 3. And next to one email chain, his own initials. His face drained of color. I didn't know, he said. Now you do, Carla replied. Trevor stood, walked to the window, and opened the curtain just slightly. Outside, a car waited. He didn't know if it was press, government, or worse. He turned back. What do you need from me? Carla looked at him steadily. Your voice, unfiltered. One more time. Live. To the world. Trevor nodded. Then we better make it count. The world didn't sleep that night. Across time, zones, newsrooms buzzed like emergency war rooms. Clips from the Elon-Trevor debate dominated screens from Nairobi to New York, translated, re-edited, and injected into every possible feed. Nobody could agree on who had won, but everyone agreed on one thing. Something was very, very wrong. In Zurich, Trevor Noah sat in front of a small webcam, a single ring light illuminating his face. No studio, no writers, no audience laughter to lean on, just him. A stripped-down voice, about to speak without approval or buffering. Carla Singh sat beside the laptop, monitoring the upload stream. The platform they were using, a decentralized node connected to global citizen journalism channels, couldn't be easily traced, but it wasn't bulletproof either. Trevor inhaled deeply, then hit live. Hey, he began, voice steady but somber. This isn't a joke. His eyes met the camera like it was a person. You all saw the debate. You saw the fire and the drama. But there's something I didn't say. Something I didn't know until I left that stage. He reached beside the laptop and lifted a printed page, an email, redacted, but still damning. It showed network interference, joke rewrites, and executive notes cross-referenced with political briefings. You laughed when I joked about free speech. I laughed too. But the truth is, we were all being edited, me included. Back in Washington, D.C., a live surveillance team flagged Trevor's stream. Inside a high-security NSA facility, a counter-disinformation unit supervisor barked into a headset. He's confirming the leak. Contain it. Now. In London, the BBC went dark for 17 seconds. Technical difficulties, they claimed. In Paris, an entire local server for an alternative news network blinked out. But Trevor's stream continued. Copies were already being recorded, mirrored, shared across blockchain-based video networks. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here to say, we all let it happen. We built platforms that sold your attention. Then we sold you. He paused. I was sold too. Back in Texas, Elon Musk stood in a dim-lit server room, watching the stream on a holographic display. His arms were crossed. He hadn't expected Trevor to do this. A voice came through his comms. Sir, we have new movement from the agencies. They're assembling talking points, trying to brand this a deep fake incident. They'll try to discredit both of you. Musk replied coldly, then let's drop the final payload. He turned to his team and said, open the archive, not just the social feed maps. Give them the influence procurement logs. Show who paid for silence. Across the planet, something called the Signal Storm Vault was unlocked. It wasn't just trends. It was money trails, defense contracts, celebrity media deals, covert influence schemes, entire media companies built around subtle shifts on what not to talk about and when. Carla received the alert on her screen. First, she stared at the decrypted contents with a gasp. It wasn't just comedians and influencers. It was universities, nonprofits, public school boards, even therapy apps. Every place people went to talk had been watched, shaped, and sometimes bought. Meanwhile, in Beijing and Moscow, state media launched breaking coverage, exploiting the scandal. But even their commentary was hesitant. What if their own systems were exposed next? In a private military intelligence meeting near Langley, Virginia, a senior official raised a chilling question. If we can't control the information flow anymore, what's left? A silence followed. Then a younger officer said, "Then maybe we should stop trying, or we'll break everything." That idea did not go over well. In Zurich, the knock came at 2:13 a.m. Carla grabbed the USB drives. Trevor unplugged the laptop. They moved quickly. There was no confirmation whether it was police, spies, or worse. Just a shadow outside the door and the slight hiss of an elevator held open too long. They escaped through the service stairs. As they reached a waiting vehicle, a burner phone in Carla's pocket buzzed. A message from 01. "The world's awake now. Finish what you started." Trevor looked at her. "Where do we go?" She replied, "Berlin. The press there still believes in printing what matters. And they can't be bought, not yet." As the car sped away, Trevor leaned his head back and stared at the ceiling. He was exhausted, not from fear, but from knowing that the world he thought he understood was gone. Somewhere else, Elon stared out at the desert sky. The world was on fire, and yet, a part of him smiled, because the truth once spoken doesn't go back into the box. Snow drifted slowly across Berlin's skyline as Carla and Trevor stepped into the lobby of a plain gray building near Alexanderplatz. No logos, no press, just reinforced glass, cameras that didn't blink, and a single security guard who already knew their names. "Third floor," he said simply, pressing the elevator button for them. Upstairs, a room waited, half newsroom, half bunker. Maps lined the walls, alongside circuit diagrams and satellite feeds. It belonged to Freie Spiegel, an independent global publication banned in 6 countries and blocked in dozens more. Inside sat a woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed, wearing a faded hoodie and wireframe glasses. Greta Lowen, editor-in-chief, veteran war reporter, truth addict. "You have the files?" she asked, skipping pleasantries. Carla nodded and slid over the encrypted hard drive. Greta plugged it in and watched it unlock. Lines of data flowed down the screen. Names, transactions, suppression logs, behavioral algorithms, whole elections worth of micromanipulation. "Jesus," Greta whispered. "You sure it's all real?" Carla's voice was steady. "I've seen it match against classified leaks from 3 continents, and Elon Musk just confirmed half of it on live TV. The rest? It confirms itself." Trevor stood by the window, staring out at the silent, snow-covered street. "And if we publish?" Greta didn't hesitate. "Then they'll come for us, all of us. And if we don't, then nothing changes." The decision was obvious. They published. The article went live at 04:27 a.m. GMT. It was titled, "The Signal Storm Papers, How Speech Was Bought." Within 10 minutes, Mirror sites popped up globally. Within the hour, whistleblowers started uploading their own proof. Former employees from tech giants, media conglomerates, and even intelligence firms. The dam had burst. In Washington, emergency meetings convened. At Taobao Meta headquarters, 2 top executives quietly resigned. In a studio in LA, a late-night comedian tore up his teleprompter and went off script, calling out the shadow deals that kept his monologues sanitized. At the United Nations, an emergency session was requested, not by a state, but by a coalition of journalists. But with truth came chaos. Markets dipped. Governments blamed each other. Protests erupted in Seoul, São Paulo, and Johannesburg, united not by cause, but by betrayal. In the U.S., congressional hearings began, with Carla and Trevor both called as key witnesses. Carla wore a simple black coat as she walked into the Capitol. Trevor wore no tie, just resolve. Inside, under oath, Carla held up a printed page. This isn't about Elon Musk, or Trevor Noah, or me. It's about all of us, about who we let decide what we see, what we hear, and what we believe. She turned to the senators before her. And now you get to decide what happens next. Will you protect speech or control it? Outside, cameras flashed. Protesters chanted. Banners waved with slogans like, "Satire is not silence," and "The algorithm is not my God." In a secured room deep below Langley, 2 intelligence officials watched the hearing. One muttered, "We warned them. Too much truth is dangerous." His partner replied, "Maybe, but so is too much silence." In Berlin, Greta was arrested within 72 hours. Officially, national security violation. Unofficially, publishing truth without permission. Trevor flew to South Africa, where he met with young comedians and activists, helping them launch a new platform, one without ads, surveillance, or censorship. Elon Musk? He disappeared from the public eye for a while, then re-emerged with a post. Information wants to be free, but it takes courage to set it loose. Let's build a better net, one where no truth is too inconvenient. Carla never returned to journalism in the traditional sense. She founded the Public Record, a decentralized platform where stories were judged not by reach, but by verification. And the world? It didn't burn. It changed. Not instantly. Not perfectly. But something had shifted. People no longer accepted curated silence. They asked questions. They demanded receipts. And most importantly, they stopped believing that laughter, truth, and power couldn't share the same stage. Years later, a young woman interviewing Carla asked, "What do you think really changed the world?" Carla smiled softly. A joke, a billionaire, a leak, and the courage to not stay quiet. Outside, snow fell again. History, it seemed, had a rhythm of its own. And this time, everyone was listening. Let me know if you'd like this formatted for screenplay, narration voiceover, or video subtitles.